Thank you, Presiding Officer. 4 fishermen's friends into the debate. We now come to the end of a very engaging and interesting debate. As Patrick Harvey pointed out, it's the first committee inquiry into active travel, and as such is very much welcome. He picked up a theme which we heard in a number of contributions today, that safety and the perception of safety, in other words, the perception of a lack of safety, are clear inhibitors to people moving on to cycles from other modes of travel. And it's certainly something of which we will take tent. He talked about active travel not being a high enough priority in local authorities, and therefore central government should dictate to local authorities what they should do. I think actually there is quite an effective relationship with local authorities. We have to foster that. We have to make sure that good experience is shared around the local authority system, because local delivery is absolutely crucial to what will work here. Charlie Gordon developed further some of the barriers that exist to people going to cycling. Someone, and I've temporarily forgotten who even suggested that seeing the Minister in Lycra was not necessarily an outcome to be greatly desired, and I agree with whoever it was who said that. But then I think, frankly, when I cycle, which I do more walking than cycling, I don't tend to use Lycra. I think there are many other ways. I'm of the old bicycle clip brigade on my standard uniform, and I'm quite content with that. Charlie Gordon talked about leadership and the Minister's personal travel. Well, I'm happy to tell Charlie Gordon I have already used the train, the bus, and I should be walking to the station at the end of today's parliamentary business. Slightly puzzled by Jim Tolson's suggestion that he gets an hour's exercise between here and Waverley. He must be doing it more often than me. I've had the explanation, Presiding Officer. Apparently Dunfermline's getting the benefit of his delicate little feet as well. But would that we all took the approach that Jim Tolson does. Charlie Gordon also talked about infrastructure, and I think there is a very important point in that. And I was speaking yesterday to a conference for disabled people getting access to our systems, and actually a survey that's just been completed has discovered there are 35,000 barriers across Scotland to allowing people in wheelchairs and with other disabilities to making use of our network on foot or by wheels. So we have a formidable challenge, which has existed for a long time, in which every administration has a duty to do something about. Alec Johnson said walking and cycling is of interest to a great deal of people. He unwisely referenced Norman Tebbit. But I was pleased to hear that he used to cycle 3 miles to school. I will be speaking to his wife Linda to make sure that he returns to that as part of the, so that we see less of Alec Johnson in future. He knows what I mean. Alison McInnes made the very valid point that active travel is best when there's a purpose rather than it's simply a recreation. In other words, when it's embedded in normal life and normal behaviour, I think that is good. She made reference to the Gorbals Healthy Living Network, who spoke to the committee, and made the absolute point. The Scottish Association for Mental Health said that exercise is a huge contributor to ensuring mental good health, and that is something I would absolutely want to echo. Now, let me just nail a few points on investment. There has been reference to extra money that Tavish Scott provided, and that's absolutely correct. That was a one-off 10 million that came when the yellow bus pilot did not proceed. That was, and I absolutely support this, diverted into cycling. But what I would say is that the budgets for 289, 10.78 million, for 910 under this government, 11.53, and it's actually rising by 16% in the current year to 13.35. Yes, more could be done, but I don't think we should pretend that we've neglected this area of policy. Briefly.
I'm grateful for giving way a second time to me on this point. I don't think any of us would imagine that if the government was suddenly to provide a 6 or an 8-fold increase, that would even be the most sensible way forward. We need to increase the investment in this area at a reasonable pace. But does the Minister accept in general, accept in principle, that sustained increased investment substantially beyond the low level that we have at the moment is the only way that long-term progress is going to be made?
I think a 16% increase in the current year gives the answer to that question. Aileen Campbell, like others, talked about rail rolling stock. We have actually, in the refettling of the 158 fleet on the rail network, improved bicycle accommodation. It is still more limited than the days of the guards van, that is certainly true, and we will certainly take every opportunity to look at that. Rob Gibson made reference to the safer routes to school and the issue about right turns, and I think that is absolutely correct that he does so. Jim Tolson confused or conflated efficient and effective. Effective is doing the right things, efficient is doing things right, and they are not in conflict, they have to both be done. Jackson Carlaw, may I belatedly welcome him to his new brief. Some Tory spokesmen have set high standards. Bill Aitken once said of me, it was in October 2006, that Stewart Stevenson is a very special person. I look forward to hearing that sort of thing again. He then went on to say he can trace his ancestry all the way back to his mother. Presiding officer, I'm sure that falls within parliamentary language, but only just. In closing, Presiding Officer, and to preserve what remains of my voice for the next debate, where I'm also appearing for the government again, can I remind everybody that cycling is fun, healthy, it's an activity that is virtually free for those who have an access to a bike. Walking is fun, it's a social activity, as we heard, when we can chat to people. We can meet people in the street and chat to them as well. Learning to cycle safely can help young people become confident, independent teenagers and adults. Designing our communities to make walking and cycling safe and easy leads to increased visibility of cyclists and pedestrians and helps drive the dynamic of this. That's why publishing Cycling by Design today was so important. Finally, let me reiterate the Scottish Government's commitment to active travel in all its various forms in this very difficult economic climate. Unlike Jim Tolson, I don't yet know what money we'll have available next year. But let me thank members for a well-informed and very welcome debate to which we will listen very carefully indeed. Presiding Officer.